Hey there folks, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well folks, it's time to visit the Marvel Cinematic Universe again, and today, we'll be discussing a warrior from Asgard known as Thor. Based on the Norse mythology deity of the same name, Thor is the Asgardian god of thunder, and possesses an enchanted hammer which grants him the ability of flight and weather manipulation, amongst his other superhuman attributes. Debuting in the Silver Age of comic books, the character first appeared in Journey into Mystery number 83 from August 1962, and was created by editor-plotter Stan Lee, scripter Larry Lieber, and penciler-plotter Jack Kirby. He was starred in several ongoing series and limited series, and is a founding member of the superhero team known as the Avengers. Appearing in every volume of that series, the character has also appeared in associated Marvel merchandise, including animated TV series, clothing, toys, and trading cards, video games, and movies. Thor was first portrayed in live action by Eric Allen Kramer in the 1988 TV movie The Incredible Hulk Returns. Afterwards, Thor Odinson appeared in the Marvel Cinematic Universe films like Thor, Thor the Dark World, and the two Avengers films. A long time ago, when I found out that Thor was part of Marvel, I thought it was pretty cool, but at the same time, I thought he was also different from other Marvel heroes due to him being from mythology. But then again, other comic book superheroes like Batman and Superman had some mythology thrown into them too. And boy, am I glad I got a chance to meet Thor at Disneyland back in 2014. Anyway, today we'll be looking into Thor's newest movie on the big screen. But, is it as good as critics say it is? Well, let's find out. Released on November 3rd, 2017, the movie is Thor Ragnarok. So, let's get started. Imprisoned on the other side of the universe, the mighty Thor finds himself in a deadly gladiatorial contest that pits him against the Hulk, his former ally and fellow Avenger. Thor's quest for survival leads him in a race against time to prevent the all-powerful Hela from destroying his home world and the Asgardian civilization. So, what are my thoughts? Well, in my opinion, this movie was both action-packed and humorous at the same time. But before I get ahead of myself, let's move on to Mustang notes. The film is directed by Taika Waititi, with a screenplay by Eric Pearson and the writing team of Craig Kyle and Christopher Yost. A third Thor film was confirmed in January 2014, and the title and involvement of Hemsworth and Hiddleston announced that October. Waititi joined the film as director in October 2015, after Alan Taylor chose not to return after directing the second movie. With the Hulk's inclusion, elements from the 2006 comic storyline Planet Hulk was adapted for Ragnarok. Principal photography took place from July to October 2016 in Brisbane and Sydney, Australia, with the film also having exclusive use of Village Roadshow Studios in Oxenford. Now, like most Marvel movies, the best parts of this movie are the fight scenes, like when Thor is forced to fight the Hulk and when he fights Hela's army. Also, I really like the visuals in this movie, like the scenes on Asgard and on Sakaar. Plus, there are a few funny moments throughout the movie. For example, there's this scene when Thor bounces a rubber ball against a window, which bounces back at him. What's more, I really like the beginning scene where Thor fights Surtur, voiced by Clancy Brown, and his demon army. Also, after Surtur is defeated, Thor fights a flame dragon, whom most of you, including myself, may have seen on Guardians of the Galaxy Monsters After Dark during the Halloween season at Disney California Adventure. Another scene that I thought was interesting was when Thor meets Dr. Stephen Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. And before you ask, I still have yet to blog his movie. Maybe next year. But anyway, let's move on to the cast of this movie. Our main hero, Thor, is played by Chris Hemsworth, who has been in the 2009 Star Trek reboot, Cabin in the Woods, Vacation, and the 2016 Ghostbusters movie. In this movie, Thor has become a lone gunslinger, searching for Infinity Stones. Hemsworth had become a bit bored with the character after portraying Thor 4 times previously, and wanted to take some risks and experiment. The character has shorter hair in the movie, wears a different outfit, and his hammer is destroyed. Director Taika Waititi wanted to use more of Hemsworth's comedic talents and cited Jack Black from Big Trouble in Little China as an influence on the character. In my opinion, even though Thor doesn't use his hammer throughout most of the movie, he's still an awesome character when he fights evil with his thunder attacks and superhuman strength. Next we have Bruce Banner, aka the Incredible Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, whom I know from Now You See Me. Bruce is a genius scientist who, because of exposure to gamma radiation, transforms into a monster when enraged or agitated, kind of similar to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He becomes a successful and popular gladiator on Sakaar. He is in perma-Hulk mode, having suppressed the Banner side for a few years and forming the vocabulary of a toddler. With the level of Hulk speech being a big conversation between Waititi and Marvel, since it was taking into account future appearances for the character. Ragnarok begins an arc for the character that continues in the Avengers Infinity War, which will be in theaters next year, and its untitled sequel. Stemming from discussions Ruffalo had with Feige, Ruffalo felt Hulk was much more of a character than the green rage machine you've seen in the Avengers movies. He's got a swagger. Waititi provided additional motion capture for the Hulk after Ruffalo had completed his scenes. Thor's adopted brother, Loki, is played by Tom Hiddleston, who I've talked about while blogging The Pirate Fairy, and Kong Skull Island. Hiddleston was interested in how Loki's attitude has changed, saying he's always a trickster. It is trying to find new ways for him to be mischievous. As the ruler of Asgard since the end of Thor the Dark World, Hiddleston notes that Loki has devoted most of his efforts to narcissist self-glorification. Next up, we have our villain, Hela, the goddess of death, played by Cate Blanchett, whom I've talked about while blogging How to Train Your Dragon 2, and the 2015 Cinderella movie. Hela is Odin's firstborn daughter, who is inadvertently released from her prison. Blanchett noted the difficulty of playing the role in a motion capture suit rather than costume, feeling the character's headdress is such a huge part when it comes into the height of her powers in the movie. Hela's design was taken from Thor, God of Thunder by Jason Aaron. In my opinion, Hela is a really nasty character, and she's got to be one of the most powerful villains in the history of Marvel. Also, by the looks of her, she looks like a Marvel version of Maleficent in a way. Plus, it's scary that she has a giant wolf as a bodyguard. Next we have the badass Heimdall, played by Idris Elba, best known for being in Prom Night from 2008, Zootopia, Finding Dory, the Jungle Book remake, and just recently, Stephen King's The Dark Tower. Heimdall is the all-seeing, all-hearing Asgardian sentry of the Bifrost Bridge, who has gone into self-exile during Loki's reign. After Hela invades Asgard, he helps to hide its vulnerable citizens and keep them safe. Next we have Grandmaster, played by Jeff Goldblum, best known for being in Independence Day, The Prince of Egypt, and of course Jurassic Park. Grandmaster is one of the elders of the universe who rules the planet Sakaar and enjoys manipulating lesser life forms. Goldblum described the character as a pleasure seeker, an enjoyer of life and tastes and smells. Grandmaster is also the brother of Benicio del Toro's Collector character from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and producer Kevin Feige expressed interest in seeing the two characters together in a future movie. Next we come to Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, whom I only remember from Selma. Valkyrie is a tough, hard-drinking bounty hunter who works for Grandmaster and goes by Scraper 142. She is based on the mythological being Brunhilde and was once a legendary Valkyrie warrior. Thompson said the various versions of the character from the comics left us a lot of leeway in creating the movie version. Waititi wanted to make sure they weren't making a female character that was boring and pretty. And Feige said Marvel wanted to pair Thor with a love interest more than his equal than Jane Foster. Thompson was inspired by pictures of Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and worked with dialect coach Andrew Jack to create an Asgardian-sounding accent that was different enough to sound like she had been away from home for a long time. The last character I need to mention is Scourge, played by Carl Urban, who did play Gavin in the Pete's Dragon remake. Scourge is an Asgardian warrior who guards the Bifrost Bridge in Heimdall's absence and chooses to join Hela to survive. Urban shaved his head for the role and worked out to get into the zone and feel the part, even though his body is hidden under a costume. Urban said Scourge makes a deal with the devil and becomes Hela's henchman. He does the dirty jobs, and that sort of is something he has to. It plays on his conscience. But I'm glad that nearing the end of the movie, he does have a change of heart and decides to fight the villains. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Thor Ragnarok has got to be one of the best movies that Marvel has ever made. Not the best, but one of the best. The story is very thrilling. The action and fight scenes are awesome. The characters are memorable, like Thor and the Hulk. The villain Hela is really nasty and almost invincible. And Grandmaster is more silly than evil. What's more, this movie does have some humorous and funny moments and a great soundtrack. So, if you're in a mood for a movie like this, then I highly recommend that you see it. I give this movie, well, I'll give it a 95% out of 100. Yeah, that should do it. Well, that's it for today, everybody. Be sure to join me again for my next blog. Mustang Power.